Welcome, the Great Ship, the Space Show. You guys, we have such a fantastic episode today. We've got some of my new favorite episodes to talk about.
Which I'm baffled.
I don't get it, Carrie.
I knew it. Watching these, I was like, oh, this is a Rebecca block of episodes if I've ever seen one.
I am your host, Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Frost, joined Admiral Kerry Jackson, Ensign Quad T Tony, and Commander Robert Neal. So happy you guys are all here to talk about some of these amazing episodes. We are in season 6 of The Next Generation, and today we're going to talk about True Q, Rascals, A Fistful of Datas, and the Quality of Life. Let's start with my good friend, True Q. When an honor student in the medical field is assigned to the Enterprise in an internship manner, she begins to demonstrate powers of the Q, prompting you-know-who to show up. I think we all know. I love my dear friend Q.
Well, who doesn't?
Not sure how I felt about this episode and his presence overall, but
It was creepy.
he was kind of mean.
He was creepy to the girl. I'm not gonna lie.
He was
Very
both.
close talker.
Well, yeah,
Very
90s.
touchy.
It is the 90s.
he was
Just
mean
saying.
and creepy to her. Yeah.
So, as a result of her academic achievement, a young intern named Amanda Rogers joins the Enterprise. She has beaten hundreds of applicants to be chosen for an internship, and unknown to anyone, however, is that she has telekinetic powers and the ability to create matter and life just by thinking about it. When the warp core's containment field fails, Amanda is able to contain it and return the reaction chamber to normal. There's a scene where Riker shows her to her her quarters, and she talks about having she talks about having a whole zoo at home that she wishes she could have brought with her. Riker leaves. She turns around. Puppies! So many puppies! And she's like, oh no, this cannot be happening right now. And they just poof disappear into oblivion.
Ugh.
2 words, Jean Grey.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh no.
I hope those puppies are okay.
So, much to Captain Picard's and the rest of the crew's dismay, our friend Q suddenly appears and he sits back in his chair, Mon Capitan, and I'm like, yes, Q's back, baby. Turns out it was Q who set off the engine fault to test her powers and confirm what he thought, that she is a Q. He is quite adamant that Amanda can be trained into how to use her powers, after which she should join the Continuum. Q says that if Amanda is not trained properly, she may acquire powers to destroy an entire galaxy.
Jean Grey.
I was going to say, where have we seen this before?
Mm-hmm.
Q also says that Amanda's parents were Q, who visited Earth on vacation and proceeded to have a child, but then they died in an accident. Picard insists that Amanda be also told what being a Q really means before she is asked to give up being human. Picard finds it odd that some Qs died in an accident and asks Data to investigate. Also, if you're a Q and you're vacationing on Earth and you choose to not be Q anymore, I don't understand. I, like John Delancey, I don't understand. Why would you do that?
Well, you've always wanted to be Q.
Give in a heartbeat. John, let me in that continuum. Amanda refuses to go with Q, and it is clear that Amanda is far more powerful than Q and can overcome him very easily. Q tells Amanda that Qs are omnipotent, and they use their powers for whatever they want. With Q's help, she is able to see the images of her real parents when she was a baby. Amanda tells Beverly that she wants to have a career by graduating Starfleet Academy. She really cannot understand the choice that Q is offering her. Beverly tells Amanda that she has the powers and she's not going to change. The best person to help her in her current situation is Q. Q can help her understand who she is. Amanda confesses that she wants to use her powers to bring her parents back. As Q teaches her to use her powers, she decides to use them to spend some time with Commander Riker, with whom she has become enamored.
As you do.
Who amongst us would not snatch up the opportunity?
Exactly.
To what?
I'd ask to spend time with Riker.
Carrie, don't make me say it. To whisk away Riker against his will and make him love me.
I would pass on that. Yeah.
I would spend time trading. I would spend time trading beard care tips.
So Q teaches her to accelerate her work and to teleport accurately, which this to the dismay of Beverly, Beverly has Amanda working on an experiment that shows the timeline of mitosis for some science, and
Science.
by accelerating the results, the experiment is null because this is not what we were after. We're not after the final product, we were after the journey. And then also Amanda, while having strong feelings for Riker, makes Riker love her, and Riker's like, yeah, she whisks him away to like a fun Earth uh Robin Hood era type whatever.
Soundstage.
Yeah,
Just
video
say
Fun
it.
costumes.
It's a soundstage.
Picard obtains important information about the death of her parents. Data finds out that a tornado killed Amanda's parents, and it was unusually strong for its funnel size. Picard speaks to Q and asks why the Q continuum executed Amanda's parents. Q responds that her parents defied the continuum by staying on Earth and were punished. And now Amanda has to make a choice, and if she doesn't make the right one, she will be killed, as the continuum is not convinced that Amanda is fully Q. Q says that omnipotent beings cannot be allowed to roam the universe without any control. Interesting insight into the Q continuum here.
Yeah.
Okay, but
have
they let
checks and
him run. They
balances.
let him run around. I'm just saying.
But Corbin Benson checks in on him and is like, hey, make sure to keep him in line.
Yeah.
And also, I was kind of hoping this wasn't the case. I was kind of hoping that perhaps Amanda had watched, per se, The Wizard of Oz, right? And in an angry spell with her parents, accidentally summoned a tornado to kill them.
Oh.
That was where my brain was going with this. But it's a lot.
It's a little dark.
Well, let me write Star Trek.
But again, as Robert pointed out, Jean Grey.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, see?
Could happen.
There's not an original thought in the universe. So Picard consults with his command team and decides to inform Amanda about her past. Q offers her a choice: join the Continuum or live among the humans, but never use her powers. She is also told that her parents were also offered the same choice and they were punished when they couldn't resist the temptation. Kind of wish they would have delved into that a little bit more, because what choice did they make?
But can't
That's
we?
the
Have we
question.
already seen that though?
How
With
so?
Riker, when Riker was given powers, and
That's
it's like
right.
we've already
Mhm.
got an example of this.
That is true.
That's true. That's
That is true. All of a sudden, Riker has an emergency on an away mission. He is installing a fusion generator on a planet who has asked for assistance, but the generator quickly overloads and is about to explode. The ionization in the atmosphere means that he can't be beamed out immediately, and so Amanda uses her powers to save Riker and tells Picard that she is a Q and she doesn't want to fight it anymore. And she leaves with Q, hopefully to use her powers for good, right? I think that's kind of innate within her.
But the thing for me with this was one, we've seen a different version of this story with Riker, like I said, or Jean Grey. Take your pick your universe. And it's like, does absolute power corrupt? Absolutely. It's not that so much corrupting her, but it's like I can do this and nobody can stop me. Even Q can't stop me. What are you gonna do? Negate my powers? No, you're not. Um, I think that the element of could she have lived without the powers would have been nice to see, like the
Mhm.
Riker choice. But they're now giving us the other choice, so we get to see the dichotomy of somebody is given the example of what do you do, and we've now seen both sides of it, as well as Q having been depowered before and having to cope with it.
So then why not, if she makes the choice to be human, why can't the continuum just
Take her
remove
powers.
that? Yeah.
Plot armor for the same reason that, well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like using another X-Men example. Darwin in First Class should have never died.
Mhm.
These two
Yeah.
are cute. They could have just been like, you no longer have powers. Peace out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's advancing the story for the story's sake, without going into let's look at what we've actually already written into existence.
Yeah, speaking of the story, the premise for this episode came from a script written and submitted by Matthew Corey, who was 17 years old at the time. And in his original premise, Amanda was male in the hopes that he himself would be cast for the part.
Come on, guys. I'm
Real,
right
a real one.
here.
I would have done the same.
Yeah. Just bring me on.
I thought a nice little minor lesson in this was, there's the easy way and then there's the right way to do a job, and that was with the whole Beverly thing. We have to let it proceed on a natural course, otherwise the experiment is screwed. Yeah, you can speed it up. That's the easy way, but it's not going to be the right way.
I would like to submit a real world example that I faced this last week of how Star
You were
Trek
given powers.
how Star Trek makes me a better person. So I was walking my dogs, and I typically don't walk both of them at the same time because they crazy. But I made the mistake of walking them both at the same time, and they broke a neighbor's sprinkler head. And
And you went like that, and it was fixed.
what
No, she had to do the whole thing that on
Or
the
did
show.
she have to do the nose
You know.
wiggle?
You have to
Yeah.
do the big
I
hand.
had to use my hands.
Agatha hands.
I was faced with a choice. I can put the sprinkler head down and walk away and never deal with it again, or I could face the problem. I was like, what would Starfleet do? And took the sprinkler head, went to the door, rang the doorbell. No one answered. Left a note saying, "Hey, so sorry this happened. Here's my phone number. Please call me. I would love to help fix it." And $100 later, it is fixed.
Ta-da.
So I'm selling my dog's feet pics if anyone would like to.
That is a very distinct fetish there. That's
Very niche. Yeah.
But I literally had the thought of I could set this down and walk away, and then my brain went, "That's not very Starfleet of you," and went,
Oh.
"Gotta make the right choice." And so this episode resonated with me a little bit this week because sometimes we have to make choices that are hard, but for the greater good. Come on.
The greater
Of
good.
society, etc.
No.
One of the things that I thought they did a good job kind of shedding a little bit of light on too is Q's and the Continuum's omnipotence, but not omniscience. They talk about how they can do anything, make anything happen, but they're also pretty clear on, we're giving you the choice because we don't know what you would choose. We don't know how it would play out, and he explains he only uses the word omnipotent when he's explaining what a Q is. He never mentions all-knowing.
And think about the episode with Q where he takes them back to Robin Hood times, and he's so confused by people's choices, right? And he's like, "That's not at all what I thought you would have done."
Not omniscient.
Love. Good catch,
There
Tony.
you go. And of course, we got Olivia D'Abo. The D'Abo women were big there for a stretch of time. A while. And
What are we talking about?
the D'Abo family.
Dabo, the game they play?
No, Olivia D'Abo.
No.
And she is the the D'Abo that you would probably know would be Miriam D'Abo, who is an actress who is in The Living Daylights.
Is he saying Diablo like the video game?
Diablo.
Yes, he is.
D''ABO. D'Abo.
Okay.
And but Tony, do you recognize Olivia D'Abo?
He doesn't even know her
which-
name.
Was she the girl in the episode?
Yes,
blonde girl?
she was the Q girl. But do you recognize her from something that you should recognize her from?
I'm probably about to look silly.
A
I do
voice
not.
in Invader Zim.
No,
Oh, that was it.
she was Princess Jenna in Conan the Destroyer.
Oh, okay. So that would have been before this episode.
Oh, much more.
yeah.
Conan the Destroyer was from '84.
She was the princess I was trying to impress by killing everyone she knew.
That's right.
A lot of voice roles for this woman.
Oh,
Quite a
nice.
few.
Yeah,
that.
she's got quite the
She was-
storied.
She was
filmography.
engaged to Julian Lennon for a while as well.
Who?
Did he say Julian Lemons?
Julian Lennon.
As in the son?
John Lennon's kid.
Oh.
But it didn't work out.
Yeah. No, it didn't.
Speaking of kids, and use this opportunity as a segue. Rascals An emergency beam renders 4 crewmen down to childhood shortly before Renegade Ferengi take over the Enterprise and offload the adults. Quick recommend, watch the animated series because this is kind of like the final Star Trek the Original Series animated series episode.
This
where-
one could have been one of the animated series. You're right.
Yeah. And Ronald D. Moore has thoughts about this episode in particular.
Oh, he
Oh,
does.
good.
Oh, he does. So
Okay.
an emergency beam out renders 4 crewmen, Ro, Guinan, Keiko, and Picard down to childhood. They were returning to the ship via shuttlecraft from a planet excursion. I love the intro to this episode because we've got Picard, Guinan, Ro, and Keiko on a shuttle. It's a weird cold open, it kind of feels like, but Picard is
Yeah.
showing off the things that he found in a cave,
And
and
he's so
Nerd.
excited.
Nerd.
Yeah.
he's so excited. And
Nerd.
Ro is asking Keiko about her plants that she has, and they're having a little bit of moment about plants, and Guinan is just there being Guinan.
Well, and it was weird because it seemed like Ro was ashamed that she was interested in the plants. Did you notice that?
It's because I'm not a nerd.
She's like, yeah, maybe that's what it was. Because she's like, oh, is that this kind of plant? She's
You
like,
kidding?
close. It's this one. You can tell, blah, 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 blah. And she's like,
I'm a
oh, yeah,
rebel
I took
and terrorist and freedom
Yeah.
fighter. I'm not a
She's like-
plant nerd.
I took a botany class at the Federation Academy, and
Maybe she was a little bit ashamed that she didn't get it right on the first try.
Maybe.
Ro,
So-
perfectionist. What?
Who could have predicted?
I just
So,
realized something when you mentioned about Picard in the things that didn't dawn on me when it was during the episode. Picard is an amateur archaeologist.
Yep.
mhm.
He likes
Mhm.
the thrill of the hunt, etc., and making sure that things wind up where they belong. I
Mm.
just realized, and I had to look this up. You know what else belongs to Paramount? What other archaeologist who thinks things belong in museums?
Alan
Imbiamba.
Quartermain.
Mbiamba.
Imbiamba.
It would have been so cool to just have him have some little nostalgic thing or some replica of like the whip or the hat in his ready room.
That would
That's just like that would have been just like a fun thing, but yeah, that just
Maybe
just
he-
realized that.
Maybe he does, and we just never see it.
Ooh, Picard
So-
season 4, get on it, Paramount.
They are returning to the ship on the shuttlecraft, and they receive the Enterprise receives a distress call from the Starfleet science team on Lagos 7. So Picard rushes to get to the ship, but of course, thus appears a random energy field, and they beam back to the ship, and they arrive as children,
Again, the goddamn transporter.
never to be
McCoy
trusted.
was right. I'm sorry, Archer was right.
There's
Everyone
two
is fear.
technologies. Yeah, there's two technologies that they should just stop using: transporters and holodecks, because
Well,
things always go wrong.
Nothing
with
but trouble.
You know,
Nothing but trouble. Yeah.
it's got a terrible track record.
Yes, indeed.
So it is a novel experience for the crew to take orders from a teenage Picard, full head of hair, tiny British boy, French, excuse me, British accent still.
Yeah.
Picard orders that the ship continues to Lagos 7 to respond to the distress call. And Picard also launches a probe into the energy field to learn more about its composition. And Picard steps onto the bridge, and everyone is like,
No
ooh.
children on the bridge.
I'm still Jean-Luc Picard.
You will listen to me.
listen to me.
Respect my authority.
that was the part of this episode that made the most sense to me. Was
That he would still.
is that he, of course,
Yeah.
Yeah, for
he's
sure.
he's the captain of the ship. I don't care what I look like. I'm the captain of the goddamn ship. Listen to me,
Because that is
That
the
made the-
important thing is they while
Mhm.
they are in the bodies of like their 12-year-old selves, they still have the brains that they
Mhm.
have as adults. So
Yeah, it's
Beverly
big in space.
takes
in
him
reverse.
aside and is like, "Hey man, I don't know about this."
not instilling a lot of confidence.
Yeah, people aren't going to respect your squeaky voice.
And I think I would have fought it harder than Jean-Luc did.
Are you for real?
I think I would have said, "No, goddamn it, I'm the captain. I can do the
Nobody
job."
Beverly Crusher brings up a good point, though.
She backs
says,
up. She backs up her reasoning.
Oh, I
She
know, I
says
know.
that this could be the first stage of something that eventually impacts his brain and decision making.
Yep.
So she comes prepared, but
She doctors it.
while also being like, "You look 12. No one is going to listen to you." Picard understands.
What they didn't do with that, though, was the whole parallel to Wesley, because nobody ever listened to Wesley when he was on the ship when he was 12 and 13.
Mhm.
It would have been fun to see them do that with Picard, like, do this, and somebody just kind of goes, "Excuse me, kid,
Nah.
what?"
And what's hilarious too is when he's on the bridge giving everyone instructions, everyone does have a moment of like, "Are you serious?"
Yep.
So
I got the 4 pips.
I got the pips. Listen to the pips.
Exactly.
Andrew-
I would have.
Respect the pips.
I would have been
Andrew
more
was
of a
watching this with me and he's like,
asshole
"Where did
about
they
it."
find those Star Trek costumes?"
We have a thing called wardrobe department.
Yeah.
So Picard understands and relinquishes command to Riker. Guinan and Ro spend time together as kids. I love their little B plot. It's very sweet.
I
And-
didn't even know that they hung out.
The actors that they got to portray them as children did a great job.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I feel like they had their voice inflection really good and the mannerism stuff. Great job.
The little girl that plays Whoopi, Isis Carmen Jones, she would again play a younger version of Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act.
Oh.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, so the McKenna Grace of her time, if anyone gets that joke. So Guinan and Ro spend time together. Ro was not happy to be a child, as her childhood was spent at a refugee camp. I was trying to pronounce the title of an American Dad episode, Camp Refugi.
Wait, she was a
Take it
Fuji?
away.
She's one of the Fugees? What? How did I miss that?
Ro they have a conversation. Guinan is like, did you not enjoy childhood? And Ro's like, no, I was in a refugee camp. Childhood was miserable for me, and it was particularly traumatic. So Guinan takes it upon herself to help Ro get in touch with her inner child. Sorry, this is so sweet, and I love this. Miles, however, has
This was the big one. This was the big problem.
They
Captain
Yep.
should have been on the bridge.
Mhm.
These two are fine. This is the big problem.
They picked fantastic characters for this scenario because everyone has their own kind of complicated situations. So Miles has trouble looking at Keiko as his wife. It is difficult for Miles to ignore the fact that Keiko is now a 12-year-old girl. Even their daughter refuses to recognize her as her mother.
Mm-hmm.
So Picard is worried that he would have to wait for 10 to 15 years to grow up before he's given command of a starship again. In a conversation with Deanna, she suggests that Picard can take a sabbatical from Starfleet and pursue other interests like archaeology. Picard has a chance of a second childhood, which he contemplates, which I find absolutely insane considering he just spent a lifetime in his head and had to come back again. This man again.
Exactly.
But he thinks that he considers it.
It's like, well, it wouldn't be so bad. I guess I could.
But
But it's his own life.
He should continue to be in charge of the starship.
Carrie, he's 12.
Starfleet has all kinds of shapes and beings and people in it.
Not
Carrie,
12-year-old
I can make this
captains.
easy for. Wait a minute. I can actually make this easy for Carrie. Carrie, if he continues to run the Enterprise, it breaks the James Kirk rule of being the youngest captain in Starfleet.
I'm okay with that.
Can't have that.
Carrie, you know what's absolutely crazy though is my husband agrees with you. My husband, while we were watching this episode, was like, "Why are they trying to solve this? They have all this opportunity." And I was like, "Are you insane? We have no idea what the implications are. Guinan is already hundreds of years old. We have no idea how this impacts her."
That's true.
As
Did she get rolled back all the way? Biologically?
Like,
Is
what
she
if-
going
like,
to
what
live
if she's-
another 500
like,
years
what-
on top
right?
of
What if she's-
she was already going to live?
she's going to be 12 years for 20 years, right? Like,
Yeah, do they age slow as a result? I don't know.
well, yeah, and what about Miles and what about his wife and their daughter? Like, you want to do that to this family?
Yes. Now that's
Yeah,
the problem.
that one-
Again, Miles'
that one's
situation
clear.
is different. The rest of
Yeah.
them,
The
could be
rest
kids
of them
and be
can
in
go about their
Starfleet.
business.
Yeah. Anyway,
So Jordan analyzes the remains of the shuttle and figures that the energy field reversed the molecular structure of the metals in the craft and perhaps did the same to the humans inside it. Beverly figures that the DNA of the 4 crew is missing crucial RVN sequences, which are key to aging and puberty. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe we can fix it in the pattern buffer. So before all of this happens, the ship reaches LIGO 7 and these motherfuckers attacked by 2 Klingon vessels. Ruh-roh. Just kidding. It's the fucking Ferengi. These guys, I hate them. I hate them so much. They get attacked by the birds of prey. Riker locks out the ship's computer in time. One of the Ferengi says that they are not part of the Ferengi Federation. They bought 2 Klingon surplus ships, invested in some repairs and weapons, and now they have control of a Federation starship. They attacked the science team on the planet, as the planet was rich in Vendorite. The science team is now digging in the mines on the planet, and the Enterprise adult crew will join them. They specifically indicate the adults. He intends to sell the Enterprise to the Romulans, but Riker has locked out all command functions. So Picard is locked with all of the other kids in the playroom. Guinan advises Picard that they should act like kids. Picard makes a scene in front of the Ferengi to be taken to his dad, Riker.
Mhm.
Thank you, number 1. He's my number 1 dad. My number 1 papa. He asks Riker to release the command control and the computer inside the kids' playroom, which is hilarious because these guys are trying to use the control panel in the playroom, and it's like, can you spell Enterprise? And I can only imagine the frustration. They fix it. Everyone's fine, and they get back into adult bodies. It's all fine, and the Ferengi fuck right off. Like the end.
But you forget.
This open.
But you forget at the end, Ro wanted to stay a child a little longer.
She did. Because Guinan. So Ro goes back to her quarters, and Guinan is there with her, and because all Ro wants to do is pout, and Guinan is like, "This is fun," and Ro's like, "Let me be," and Guinan's like, "I thought you were a jumper, like you love jumping on furniture," and so like through a little bit of like banter, Guinan convinces her to start jumping on the bed, and they actually start to have a fun time as children.
And this is okay. Carrie, help me out here, and Tony. This is you're going to get more information about her childhood in a general sense as a Bajoran down the road. I think you can safely say that without screwing too much up.
Yeah, exactly. You find out why.
You get some big insights into why she's the way she is.
Exactly, because it wasn't easy growing up Bajoran under Cardassian rule.
Sure.
But this episode I refer to as Jim Henson's Star Trek babies. So
I was like, Star Trek babies.
Yeah. Well, one thing they don't even really broach is the implications of they just discovered a way to de-age people.
They never figure out why. It's one of those episodes where they are just like, oops, weird, right? And then
well, anyway, just roll on by. And it's like, they found what Francisco Pizarro was looking for in the 1400s, a fountain of youth. They basically could have it right there. And it's
surely
like,
some enterprising, science sales type would go through their logs and go, okay,
exactly.
maybe I can recreate this.
But,
wait a minute.
We've also seen this again in season 2 in a slightly different manner when they de-aged what's her nuts? Pulaski from DNA. They rolled back her with her DNA.
Yeah.
So they've already had this kind of thing.
But also, is this a job where like the Enterprise has made technical first contact with this energy field? Is it something that they report back to Starfleet and Starfleet sends out like the Cerritos to go like
you would think
investigate
That's
further?
What I'm thinking. Yeah.
It's below their pay grade.
Yeah,
so,
Section 31 is investigating. That's why you never hear about it again.
That makes sense now.
So this episode directed by Adam Nimoy, Leonard Nimoy's son. Isn't that fun? And here's what Ronald D. Moore has to say about this episode.
These are his feelings.
He
Okay.
was dead
Worst
set.
episode ever.
He was dead set against it.
Oh, really?
He commented, I thought the premise was completely insane. An away team materializes children with adult minds. I tried again and again to bury the idea. I just thought it was ludicrous and wanted nothing to do with it. That said, once I got the assignment, the professional writer in me had to commit to the material and do the best I could with it. I tried very hard to bring humor and humanity, chiefly through the Guinan and Rose story that I did wind up liking in the end. The episode still makes me cringe. Ferengi captured the Enterprise in a broken down Klingon birds of prey, but many people like it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I surprisingly loved it. I typically don't really care for stories about kids on the Enterprise, but also because our dear friend Alexander helps them. He helps the adults find a solution.
Yeah.
Speaking of Alexander, let's talk about
Okay.
Rebecca Frost's new favorite episode of The Next Generation, A Fistful of Datas. While the crew is experiencing some much-needed downtime, Worf and his son go to an Old West excursion on the holodeck, where they meet several versions of Data serving as the bad guy after an experiment in engineering goes wrong. Carrie, how could you think I would hate this?
I thought you would.
Oh, no. I
I
knew
thought you would hate
immediately.
this one.
I was watching this like, oh, this is Rebecca's
Oh,
episode right here.
Ooh,
No, it's-
just this small clap. I had the dumbest grin on my face the entire time.
Now, what this does, as far as Star Trek does best, is that, you got to save a little money, so you use the Paramount backlot. Let's do a story.
There
The
you
original series was famous for that. We'll use the backlot and save some money, and we'll do a story that's cowboys. That's it. We'll do cowboys.
Love.
They've already done Robin Hood, so they had to do something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So a supply ship is 48 hours late, so the Enterprise crew has some unexpected downtime. Picard is in his quarters playing the flute again. Bizarre. Right after Rascals, where he's playing the flute that he got from the Inner Light, and
Yeah.
and Computer is like providing him some backup companion
That was-
music.
That was almost like the child episode was almost like, you want to live life again? You want another go around? Because you already had one a few episodes ago as this other person.
Yeah. Want to do over?
How many do-overs is he gonna get?
And this is a hilarious opening scene. I thought it was so well done because Picard
It's good.
keeps trying to go play his flute, constantly interrupted. First, Geordi and Data want permission to do an experiment, taking the main computer offline for a few hours and Data's circuit running various systems. The plan being to use Data as a backup computer for the ship in case main systems fail during an emergency. A small physical burnout in Data causes a series of malfunctions in him, such as his vocabulary and voice aberrations, blah, blah, blah. Dr. Crusher wants him to participate in a play she's directing. Another part of this episode that I love, Dr. Beverly Crusher running a tech play rehearsal for the USS Enterprise Drama Club. This
My
episode
goodness.
has everything. And Worf comes to Picard and he's
Well-
like, yes, Tony.
I was gonna say, I love that she's like, we have a part for you in the play. He's like, I don't have time to learn a part. There's so many lines. Well, no, it's not a main part.
And he's offended.
Yeah, he's like, oh, yeah, it's only like 3 words. You're a butler.
Oh,
Oh.
well,
Well, it's hilarious too because she's like, I know you're not much of an actor.
Yeah.
When Patrick Stewart, who directed this episode too, is renowned for his work on the stage. Oh God, just so much meta commentary here too. And then Worf begging for work assignments, and Picard and me on my couch while he's begging for work assignments. I'm like, why don't you go spend some time with your goddamn son, Worf? And Picard is like, why don't you go take the time off? And so Worf goes back to his quarters, and Alexander is like, what did he say? What did he say? And Worf is like, I guess I'm free. And Alexander's like, yeah, let's go holodeck.
but there's one
Yeah.
other thing with the Picard situation, just trying to play his flute. Man's just having some downtime.
Mm-hmm.
There's this one thing that nobody takes into account. There's a duty roster. If the man's in his
Duty
quarters,
roster.
Duty.
just having some downtime, there's a senior officer in charge.
Oh, yeah,
somewhere.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's where they should have been going for the
They
answers.
should have been going to
Yeah.
Riker.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Interesting.
whoever's in charge of the bridge at the
But-
time.
Yep.
Riker was
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, because Riker's off doing play rehearsal.
That's right.
God. USS Enterprise Drama Club. So Worf and Alexander go to the holodeck, and Alexander has programmed a simulation with the help from Lieutenant Barclay.
Yeah,
Should have been your red
Barkley.
flag right there.
Exactly. Get Barkley out of there. Come on.
They
What a wiener.
they arrive in Deadwood, a 19th century Wild West evocation. As they're walking through the town, they do see, I'm going to say it, a prostitute. And Worf is like,
Yep.
what? And Alexander says, I did have some help from Lieutenant Barclay. And Worf is like, okay.
I'm going to have a talk with Barkley.
Gotta talk with Barkley. And also, we'll get to it. So Eli Hollander is an outlaw in the holodeck program. Eli has killed 23 men, and he's known as the Butcher of Bozeman, and has a reward on his head. Worf and Alexander are on his trail and are to apprehend him. Alex wants to make it difficult and increases the resistance level to 4 and resets the program because Worf defeats it too easily, right? And
Yeah.
Alexander's like, we gotta have some challenge here. Where's the fun if you just arrest him and we win? So increases the difficulty. And in this new iteration, Eli puts up a much harder fight to resist arrest by Worf and pulls a revolver on him. Eli is about to defeat Worf when Deanna Troi intervenes and saves them both. Eli is arrested by Worf, and Eli says that his father will come to save him. So they ask Deanna, or Worf is like, Deanna, what are you doing here? And she's like, Alexander invited me. And I have never seen Deanna Troi take anything so seriously in her whole life. She loves everything to do with the Wild West. Her father used to read her stories about the Wild West, and she was always so enamored with the character of the mysterious stranger.
Everyone always in the episode they refer to it as the ancient West, not
Yeah,
even the old West
ancient
or the
West.
Wild West. It's so
yeah.
far into the future
Mhm.
now that it's the ancient
I
West.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
good catch. Good catch.
And I just, like I said, Deanna has never taken anything so seriously in her whole life. She gets so mad when they try to treat her as less than a badass, mysterious stranger.
Hey guys, come on! I am a bandit or whatever, you know.
So Worf, they need to get some currency within this holodeck simulation. So Worf sends Alex out, and Alex is abducted by Frank, played by Brent Spiner. So he looks like Data, who claims to be Eli's father. Alex tries to freeze the holodeck program, but he can't. Frank is a Data lookalike, and Frank confronts Worf and demands the release of Eli. Worf realizes that this is not Data, and they cannot exit the program. Worf is shot, but the bullet grazes his shoulder. Worf rushes back to the holding cell where Deanna is keeping an eye on Eli, and they both realize that Eli has been replaced by a Data lookalike in the program. Deanna speculates that if they take the program to its end conclusion, it will automatically terminate, and Deanna realizes that Eli just doesn't look like Data, but he also has Data's abilities.
Oh, strength and everything. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Data and Geordi figure out that during the experiment, Data's interface programming overwrote the subroutine C47 of the computer mainframe, which impacts non-critical sub-functions of the ship like library, entertainment systems, etc. Data and Geordi can fix the problem in 2 hours, but meanwhile, Data's own memory has traces back to the 19th century Midwest accent that is currently playing on the holodeck. And it slips out in a bunch of Data's interactions. Data formulating some custom food for his cat Spot, highly relatable. But then the cat hops up on his desk, gets in his way, and he's like, "Vamoose, you rat, you vermin!" And me at home, yay! And even when they're talking to Picard and Riker, he drops the word reckon. And Riker's like, did you just say reckon? And he stops to spit into a nearby plant like he's chewing tobacco. So back on the holodeck, Frank makes a deal with Worf to exchange Eli for Alex. Deanna says Frank will break his word and tells Worf to plan for how to deal with an adversary of the speed and accuracy of an android. At the appointed hour, Worf heads out with Eli for the exchange. Worf rigs a force field using an old telegraph equipment and is thus able
That's
to...
my favorite.
it's
Let me
like
just take that old telegraph and I'll make a force field out of it and I'll
It's-
power it off my communicator badge.
easily doable.
Yeah.
So he's able to withstand the onslaught of bullets fired at him and by Frank and his associates. Worf disarms Frank with his own accurate shooting. Worf is able to rescue Alex and tells Frank to withdraw and never enter town again. The program ends automatically. Data and the ship are restored to normal operations. Worf enjoyed the bonding experience with Alexander. Actually, the program did not end automatically. There was one more task they had to accomplish. Worf in the program has a lady friend that is programmed in, and he has to go show his appreciation to his lady friend, and he goes in the tavern and it's Data dressed as a lady.
Yep.
Just so darn tootin' happy to see him. And then the program ends. And so Worf enjoyed the bonding experience with Alexander. He promises to go back to the holodeck with him and spend more time with him. Pops on a hat, finger gun in a mirror. The Enterprise flies away, and some Western tunes, some Western notes hit in the closing theme.
In a sunset-esque, solar system kind of a thing as they fly. It was good.
Yeah.
Couple of things. First of all, we'll have to get this for you.
Oh, for those listening who
wow.
can't see, Carrie's showing us me a picture of action figures of Cowboy Worf and Alexander. He's so
Look
cute.
at that.
Yep, they made those.
My God.
But secondly, I just like to say there is a saving grace in this episode, and that is...
You mean the whole episode?
I was going to say, what do you mean? One saving
Data
grace.
in drag is worth the price of admission.
Which
Madam
apparently was Brent Spiner's favorite part.
I was going to say, I have to think that Brent Spiner saw this script and was just like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a fun couple of days of shooting.
Love when Brent Spiner gets to play around as Data. It's so much fun.
Well, I saw Madam Data there, and I just went, is this RuPaul and Data's drag race? Is that what's happening here?
The original title for this episode was The Good, the Bad, and the Klingon.
That would have been a good title, too.
I prefer, well, I don't know.
But I don't know, there's a Fistful of Datas.
Yeah, Fistful of Datas is better.
It's better, but the other one's still good, too.
But yeah, my new favorite episode of all time so far. I don't know how it can ever be topped. But I guess we can move on to the next episode we're going to talk about, the quality of life. When Geordi is assigned to survey a new mining development, the doctor he is with, Dr. Farallon, uses a new sophisticated robot called an exocomp to repair a power grid. Jonathan Frakes directed this episode, so we've got a whole run of episodes directed by some of our friends.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing poker on the ship, as they are wont to do.
This is a great intro opening.
Such a
scene,
good
by the
intro.
way.
We
It's
are
really good.
back to back. So many good intros in season 6. It's so good. So Beverly wins, and Geordi, Worf, and Riker have to shave their. They have to shave. There's a whole conversation about beards.
They cut it short. The senior crew got called to the bridge, and so they didn't get to finish the hand. And she was all angry about it because she thought she was going to win, and they were going to have to shave their, as she put it, affectatious beards.
They're accessories only. So there's a whole conversation about the purpose of the beard, because Geordi is growing out a beard, and I love when Geordi grows out a beard. It looks so good.
Yeah, it's good.
And then so if Beverly wins, the men on the ship, Riker and Geordi, have to shave their beards.
And Worf.
And Worf, I forget about his beard.
Yeah.
And if she loses, she has to dye her hair brunette. Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Anyway, interrupted. The Enterprise orbits Tyrus 7 to assist an experimental mining project, which Lieutenant Commander Geordi must evaluate for Starfleet. This is new mining tech and fraught with issues so far. The technology was supposed to lift 500 kilograms a minute from the planet's surface, and it's not even close. Dr. Farallon talks about increasing the stream density to improve lift capacity by 72%. Blah, 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 blah. So Dr. Farallon demonstrates the exocomp, a revolutionary power grid repair device needed to keep the fountain operational, which creates its own tools with a micro replicator and learns from its experience. Peanut hamper. The
This
introduction
looks
of
familiar.
a hamper.
Yeah.
The little I don't know why I'm always so pleasantly surprised every time I see something from Lower Decks actually appear
too.
in Star Trek. So I'm like, wow, I guess I didn't think that was a real thing, but
Yeah,
here we are.
same.
Farallon thinks she can expedite the completion of the particle fountain with an expanded use of exocomps across the board. She makes a presentation to Picard, who is convinced. He allows 48 hours more for Data and Geordi to help Farallon get the particle fountain to operate at full strength. Picard delays the departure of the ship. Blah, blah, blah. After performing efficiently at first, the exocomp suddenly burns out, inexplicably, when ordered to perform a hazardous task. The unit won't take any input commands, and a detailed investigation on board the Enterprise reveals that the unit has developed a large number of new neural pathways which seem to be driving this behavior. Oh no! Data then finds that the exocomp basically burned out its own circuits and then performed a self-repair function at a slightly later hour. Data realizes this only makes sense as a self-preservation move and therefore thinks it's now a living machine like himself. He does this thing where he goes to Beverly and he's like, "Hey, Beverly, what is life?" And Beverly gets this look on her face like, "Why can't you ever ask me just a normal goddamn question?"
Why don't you ask me, where do babies come from? I could answer that easier.
I hate it when you wax philosophical on me, Data. So Data
Go ask
asks...
your space dad.
Go ask Space Dad. Data asks Farallon to stop using the exocomps for hazardous work as they are alive and should have rights. This is giving me Hermione fighting for elf rights in the Harry Potter books.
Sure.
So Farallon disagrees, and the matter is escalated to Picard, who decides to test the hypothesis. The exocomp is given the same simulated conditions again and is expected to take steps to preserve itself. But this time, the exocomp continues to carry out the instructions. Farallon says this proves the machine is not alive, but later, Data and Beverly figure out that the machine didn't fail the test, it saw right through it and performed accordingly. This is what AI is going to do, babes. Those
If it's not already all doing it.
Did you guys see the picture of Pluto carrying a child out of hurricane-flooded Disney World? That's what this is. So Picard decides to review the particle fountain himself, but during the inspection, the fountain encounters a major system failure with a large and increasing radiation leak. Picard beams back Farallon and her team, while stays back with Geordi to rescue a stranded scientist, but then the radiation increases and blah blah blah. They can't beam out. Riker and Farallon make a plan to use exocomps to carry and detonate a low-yield torpedo in the fountain beam in order to shut the system down. Data is against the plan as he sees the exocomps as a fellow life form. He disables the transporters before Riker can beam them out. Riker, pissed, but listens to Data. Data offers to go himself to execute the mission since he is choosing to save his fellow officers' lives. He says that the exocomps have no choice. Riker says that he could reconnect their command pathways to give them this choice. Data programs the exocomps, but they reprogram themselves with an alternative and provide new coordinates to the transporter that take them to the station core. 3 exocomps begin to siphon power from the fountain beam, and the radiation levels start to drop. This reduces the ionization enough for Picard and Geordi to be beamed out. The Enterprise also beams out 2 exocomps, but one has to stay behind to keep the radiation down, allowing the other 2 to escape. Farallon is convinced that the exocomps are some type of life form. And I love the conversation that Data has with Picard. Yes, Robert.
So I've got something here that goes back to the first season that bothers me with this. We know that there's a problem with the fountain, and it's dangerous, and this is why they're using the exocomps. Why did Riker allow Picard to go down in the first place? Because he refused to let him go into situations before.
Your Federation protocols, yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, anytime Picard finds himself in a situation, I'm like, why? Why were you there? But I kind of think I think you can't keep a good man down. I think Picard loves the thrill of the chase.
Oh, he does, because he wants to solve the mystery and find the clues and everything.
Mm-hmm. He wants to be the hero.
He wants to be Dixon Hill all the time.
All the time. There's a conversation towards the end with Data and Picard where Picard's like, "Ooh, what's the deal? Like, what's going on? And Data's like, well, you fought for my rights when we were faced with the question of if I have rights. And so
Mm-hmm.
it felt the right thing to do. And Picard says that's an extremely human choice that you made, probably the most human choice you've made. And it got me. Got me.
Well, the other thing though, I mean, we've seen this with Data and Picard before with Lal when he created Lal, and everybody's going, "What's does he have the right to create children? Can he create children? Is she alive?" And that whole thing. So this is another variation on that,
Hmm.
but with
Yep.
Data in the Picard role of proving that these entities have the right to live. So it's interesting
Um,
seeing that part come full circle.
Yeah.
yeah. And it's super interesting to see this episode now, knowing about Peanut Hamper in Lower Decks and like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it is like a life form in a sense that is capable of making choices and having opinions.
Mhm.
Just so fascinating. LeVar Burton was allowed to regrow his beard because he needed it for his wedding.
Oh.
So it was
Oh.
written into the episode. It is unknown whether or not he shaved the beard off in future episodes because he lost his bet with Dr. Crusher.
Oh,
But
did they finish the hand in the next episode or?
well, I don't know because Riker probably has his beard in upcoming episodes.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, they don't go back to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Sorry, we're just left hanging with the whole beard question.
Yeah.
yeah.
Lame.
So, I got some reviews
I would love to
of
hear
this
him.
episode. Forbes magazine said that it was one of the top 10 episodes of the franchise.
This
Yeah,
one?
top
Hmm.
10.
Okay.
Because they say it explores the implications of advanced technology. you know.
Yeah.
They also compared it to Evolution, which is a prior episode, of course. The AV Club called it B+ and said that they like the exploration of Data's character in this one. But of course, there's always some neckbeard out there. Some guy named Keith from Tor.com. Of course, right away, you know there's trouble.
Keith.
Yeah. I gave it 3 out of 10. It fails to address its issues as well as it should, and it completely fails as drama.
And that sounds
Okay.
so perfect when Red is
Disagree.
comic shop guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Disagree, sir. Disagree.
Okay, Keith, I'm gonna go have sex with my wife now. Thanks. So what do we think? Best episodes ever? I think so.
I don't know if they're
Good.
the best ever, but they are up there. That was
They're
an
good.
excellent block of episodes for sure.
They're good. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's a couple coming up that I'm like I'm going to challenge you on best.
Oh, really?
Like, it's not the next group; it's in the group after that.
Yeah. No, there's some good ones coming.
Yeah.
Well, I've done some rearranging for episodes. So for the next episode, this is episode 53 of the Space Show. Next is going to be 53.5, where we're going to cover parts 1 and part 2 of Chain of Command. Just those two episodes. Just those 2 episodes. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you watched him yet, Rebecca?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm still recovering from Fistful of Datas. I don't. You know what?
She needs
You
some
ever
time to
get, like-
reflect.
Like show and book hangover, where like you finish a show or a book, and you're
Sure.
like, man, I need some time to just sit.
I've
Yes,
got the
yes.
trekkiest hangover. I don't want to get over.
I don't want to get over.
Robert knows what I'm talking about.
Robert always.
I
knows. When in doubt, trust Robert.
It's a Diana Ross song. Anyway.
Oh.
Well, that's gonna do it for us this week, unless anyone has any final thoughts that they want to share with the class.
Not
Just
for these,
yay-
but I just
yay Star
realized
Trek.
what the next 2 are, and it's like, no, these are a solid pair of episodes.
Couple of good episodes coming
curious.
up, yeah.
I'm curious to see your take on it because I have opinions about these next 2 episodes.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow. We will discuss them next episode. But until then, we will continue to go where no man has gone before, but a lot of people have gone before. Thank you for joining us once again.